All right. So, welcome. So, I've recorded a couple of clips for this, but I think it's just better to kind of show you what I've been doing. I've kind of kept getting distracted just playing Minecraft and just having so much fun that I keep forgetting to record clips. So, I think what I'm going to do is hop over to a copy of the world and fly around and essentially just show you what I've made. Or, to be actually telling the complete truth there, I'm going to hop into Spectator and then show you kind of the area around here. So I'm going to do that real quick and then kind of get on with the rest of the video. I'll also be, while kind of showcasing that, maybe talking about some of my, what was done and some of my plans for the area. So, hope you like this kind of very interesting beginning to an episode. As we start our wonderful little tour, we first have to go with the area that I've done soonest and am probably going to be changing a little bit more. This is the farmland that I've been working on, taking the original piece of farmland and upgrading its looks, as I found it looked pretty bad. The other area that I've been working on is this little trail, which takes you all the way across here, all the way over, and on a wonderful little path to be decorated at a later date. Sorry for my camera work, but you just kind of come around here, and then you more or less just kind of follow a more natural, grounded path. You then come to a split where you'd either go off onto that island, or you'd come over here and more or less just come around and go over more or less into the unknown area. For anyone going into the forest, that would be a bad idea. But then you come over to this area where you've got this farm, is what it's going to end up being. So basically, just cleared. All I did in this area was cleared out the trees so far, but you then get a bunch of kind of maybe two houses over here, and then on this side a bunch of different basically pens and maybe a barn. Something to just kind of signify this is basically a ranch with the animals. Then you come over to here where you end up coming across a bridge. And none of the water you currently see was there originally. So I'll take you through the bridge and then... Actually, no, I'll take you through the waterway first. That's the more exciting thing. But then you just kind of come through this area as the water would, and it just kind of comes over here. Now again, none of the water you're seeing here, or very little of it, was originally there. If you see over here where it goes into different colored stuff, that was there originally, up to maybe the second level of water. But the top two were done by me, which I'm quite happy about. But then you basically would have this area of water running from this river that essentially comes fast through this area. So you'd kind of almost have an area of almost stiller water with the rushing water kind of coming across here. So on either side it'd be a little stiller. But then what you'd get is a bit where the water kind of turns around a little bit and kind of hits this edge, but then would kind of slow back down, and other water would be kind of pulled this way. I need to fix that, but basically you have then two paths, the left and right path. I found that it works really well because the water would kind of come here, some of the water would go down that way, some of it would go down this way. So first, let's take a look at the right path. For this right path, the water kind of comes around and ends up going downward, down the mountainside, or hillside, and then ends up flowing over like a little cliff area and goes right into the water. And then if you just come around and kind of go around the other side of the cliff, you also get a moment where the water just kind of splits. But this time, we're going to take the left path first. For this left path, it's just a very simple amount of water that just kind of leads over the edge. And then the other path just kind of leads more straight and down. But that is what I have currently made. I'm just going to go quickly head back home, and then we can then continue with the rest of the wonderful little kind of planning stage of this, and what I think is going to be really fun to work on, because you don't want to build stuff you're not wanting to work on. So, game mode, survival, click, and back in bed. Yeah, I'm more or less using this because I don't know how to copy and basically paste a world to use like a backup of the world, so I can mess around without messing up this one. So I end up using a bit of yeah, spectator. Jeez, I said way too many times there. But yeah, the other thing that I kind of want to do is add a couple of maybe one more farm over here, maybe two actually. One kind of where I'm at, so I can kind of show you the process that I've been taking for making these. I think coming around here to the location where the farm would start would be a good option, or technically the farm would start a little bit. That's an axe. I'm a whole lot better when I am not recording. Oh well. But yeah, you'd kind of have like an area where the land just kind of comes around here, maybe turns like this, and then kind of comes to a almost not necessarily gradual, but more gradual area. Some of this dirt area will be brought back just to create a little bit of a cliff, but then you just kind of come up with like an area like this. So with your more or less pathway being created, you end up being able to just kind of find your random block placing abilities and see what you like. This one's going to be a very interesting one because it's going to more or less just be here to... Really? I have no more cobblestone on me? Of course I don't. But you kind of get the idea. So then the people who come across would be coming across this way. And then they have basically two options. Go this way out of the city where they kind of... Yeah, then they come to this area. Go to a like small fishing hut bay area. And then come over this way a little bit more. And then you'd kind of turn this way. And then you'd reach the more open space, where you then run out of the farmland. But you also would have, in this farther back area, an option to split this direction. And if you went this direction, you'd basically be going over to, I'm going to call it the water supply. Because if I just walk this way and kind of show you this, I think this is a really, really, really cool area, but it's going to be a bit of a pain in the rump to fill with water. But if you just kind of come over here, you can see that there's this kind of area right here where you just have two big kind of almost cliff style areas on both sides, and then like a little bit of water that flows through here. So what I might do is break a little hole there, but then you just have this large arching area here. And then if I come up this way, you'll see that this large arching area splits like almost perfectly in half. If I just come over here, like this pillar right here almost splits this valley in half. And on this side of the valley, what I thought I could do is have like another river kind of coming down this way, more or less rushing along through the valley, as it kind of would come probably to slowing down, maybe going a little past this area and making this another one of those boulders. Kind of just areas where the water hasn't yet eroded all the way down. And it just kind of flows out. Once it kind of reaches this area, maybe it widens a little bit. But then it just kind of comes to a almost stop once it reaches this area, and just kind of slows down almost to a stop. I might make it go all the way over, or I might just leave it there. I think I'll probably make it go all the way over, because then I can kind of continue it this way, and then you gotta go around the tree, but around the tree, please. Yeah, kind of make it go along this way, where you have two different areas where it goes up. So it just kind of comes along here, maybe goes over to here, and just drops into the ocean. And that would be like mountain runoff. So I found that was like a really cool idea. But a few other cool ideas that I had, because I like the idea of terraining the area first, prepping everything, and then I start the building process of actually constructing stuff. So basically, I think what I'm going to do is try to create a little bit of also making this area a little flatter and just using these as almost templates I can build off of. Just because if you kind of look at the land, it's almost completely flat, and that doesn't exactly provide a very nice, like if you would be coming into this bay, if I just go over to my boat, and you just kind of come over to this area without knowing exactly what it is, and if I just kind of come around here, the boats are annoying to thrive in my opinion, but like if you were to come around this way, if I just come along here, I can kind of show you what I mean by just taking a quick turn around this island. I've got a lot of islands in this world, so, oh, this isn't an island set. Oh well. You basically come around here and, nope. I'm not very good at driving the boats. But you just kind of come around this way, no, okay. And you just see a flat land. I don't think that looks really cool, so what I'd want to do is have almost like a slope. So the land slopes up gradually, so you can see a lot of the crops as it tries to get to about the point where, if I just kind of come around here, I think I'd try to bring it up at like a rate of maybe 4 or 5, try anywhere between 5 to, or between 4 and 5 blocks, or 4 to 6 blocks up, at kind of an angle, and maybe either try to bring it to meet this or bring it to at least somewhere around this sort of level, so about where the gravel is. Even if I can only bring it up to about here, that slope would make the farms look a whole lot better. So that's going to be a fun little project. But the other one that I wanted to do was just kind of having it that this area entirely is almost perfect for creating this like downward slope, which I think would look really darn cool, is just having some essentially area where, because I can also add like making this an entire cliff face. So building up these cliffs to make them look a little bit better, maybe here, leading like that crack between them, and then going around the other side. And so instead of a slope here, it's a cliff like on this side. And just doing something along those lines on both sides I think would look really cool. Because if I kind of come along here, the entire area where I'd be building a city, if I just kind of come onto this side of the ridge, there's a ridge basically that runs across the entire zone that almost splits off the farming area from the rest of the town. So I kind of think that that would look really cool. I don't know whether to call it a town or a city at this point, but the amount of fun stuff that I want to do is going to be really cool. Also, since I don't know if I've mentioned this yet in the video or any of my other videos, but one of the other things that I'm going to be doing is when 1.17 comes out, since they've split that into 2 different updates, I think what I'm going to end up doing is not updating this world and maybe creating a 1.17 specific world, just because I don't want to have to come up with good ways to deal with that. Because the other one, like things like the heightened world generation and the lower world generation, all of that would be removed from that update. So I just think it's a better off for me to do something along the lines of just not caring about the update, which it is upsetting, but I think that's probably the best way to do it. I've got to deal with all this later, but yeah. Since I think that's going to be what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to have a few more issues. But I also found this kind of area that I accidentally made, and I think like right here would be a good tree. Kind of just thinking out loud at this point, but I'm just seeing a lot of these areas and looking at it and just kind of going, I think this would be a really nice zone to build this in, or I really want to build this here. Because, like, you have such a large sandy area, so what I might end up doing is maybe trying to cut it off here, turning that into a grass, maybe having maybe not fenced off, but more guided off, kind of almost sandy beach. And then it kind of maybe runs more into like a cliff face here, and then would go back into sandy beach on this side, so turning that back into a little bit more sandy beach. Because this area just looks like it's prime for more, like it'd be like a good area for people to swim in. Because, of course, this area is going to have, like, I guess medieval style is what it's called, but not necessarily medieval style, if that makes sense. Like the kind of, I'm going to call it the, not Victorian age, I don't know what to call it, but just kind of the, I'm probably going to use medieval buildings essentially is what I'm going to try to do. But I also really do want to try to create other stuff. And again, going to be using 3 or 4 different farm fields in this zone. Continuing it this way. Oh, I can already feel my voice. Ugh. Yeah, kind of continuing it this way. And then going up this way, I need to eat. Yeah, kind of continuing it. Just kind of how this is. This stuff is going to be pushed back slightly and forming a cliff, probably about this far back, I'd say. So, kind of around this far back is going to be a cliff that goes all the way up to the top if I don't bridge it up. But if I do bridge it up, I'm probably going to remove all the dirt anyway, because it's precious dirt for that. But the other thing I'm going to do is probably try to flatten this area a little bit more. Just try to flatten it and then create one more farm here, maybe another one, depending on how far back I want to go here. But then I think the last farms I'm going to create are going to be over this way. And the nice thing about adding the slant is that if I add the farms here, what I can always do is shrink, or since I don't have any planned farms for one of these areas, what I might be able to do is maybe somewhere back kind of around the middle area, so like right here, since this area is hopefully going to be up to about this level and mostly flat within at least 10 to 15 blocks within one level of each other. So what I can do is make the windmill here. So I mean, it's not perfectly centralized, but you get a nice central view of the land. But it also means that if I wanted to build anything specialized up here, if I add something like maybe not necessarily like a wall, but something along the lines of maybe more buildings up here, that would also make a lot of sense. So that's other stuff I'm thinking about doing. I'm sorry for not really doing too much in this episode, but I just am really pressed for time. Each episode takes about 2 hours to render, and so a 20-minute video, 2 hours to render, and I need to get it out before, before everyone else is, or I need to get the video out and, publishing before everyone else is, not going to be too happy, because I use a lot of Wi-Fi for these videos, at least for the process of the making of them, so they're not exactly happy with me in that regards. But, wrong chest. I do think that it's going to look really nice once I finish making these, not necessarily zones per se, but I definitely like the way that this area is starting to come together, and adding different like farmhouses and other stuff maybe to the top of the mountain, so the farm hands work down the mountain. I think would look really cool to have that on top of the mountain. Because the other thing that I think about doing on the mountain is maybe splitting the mountain off. So if I just come up here, maybe right behind the windmill is like 4 or 5 just farmhouses. So the windmill would probably not get up to be about this high. As you can kind of see, there's that area of green down there. So imagine just that area upwards would be about there. So around here where I'm standing would be a bunch of maybe 4 or 5 farmhouses. And then maybe having like another wall that maybe breaches across here. And then kind of almost splitting the farmhouses from what would essentially be right around here. Maybe like a guild building in the back or a Great Hall style building. But again, I have so many different ideas that it's so hard to talk about them all. But I figured this would be a good video just to kind of bring anyone who watches it up to speed on the plans, because there's like a port town over there, woodcutters in both those forests, and then something important up here, as well as a couple of farm buildings, farms all across this basically relatively flat land, making it a little flatter when needed, and turning this into a slope, as well as building like an entire town across here. So if I just kind of use some of my brilliance and go up to the top of this, I can see that there's a great area where I can kind of see. I guess I have to come up here, trying to get a good aerial view of this without going into spectators annoying. The only reason I go into spectator is to view, and if I'm not viewing, I don't find that worthwhile. But you kind of have like this area up here, which this is actually a really good view. But you see like this area right here is maybe, I don't know if I'll make it more farms, but maybe have it like a church, like a large church, or maybe church, library, town hall kind of area right here. Maybe a castle up on this hill, and then the rest of this kind of land that reaches all the way to the ocean, doing stuff like that. And I do think it's going to be really nice, so I think what I'm probably going to end up doing in the next episode, and I know I keep saying I'm going to do this in the next episode, but I think what I'm going to end up trying to get done is the outline portion of terraforming. This may not sound like a very big project, but any area where I plan to terraform, there's about 3 to 4 layers of grass below it. The reason why this is good is if I want to add, let's say, a water feature, I'm going to do, I think it's Fwhip or Fwhip, who has stated this several times before, but using double grass instead of one grass block thick is really handy when terraforming, because then you can add water features 1 block deep without a problem. But as he also points out several times, that's also the way that he works it. I don't know whether it's the best or whatnot, but I figured it was probably a good way to do it if, you know, a YouTuber who's been playing Minecraft, you know, in the same vein for a bunch of years. I think he's been playing Minecraft for like 8 years, making YouTube for who knows how long. I could be completely mistaking those words, but I don't really. The point is, he's been playing, you know, Minecraft, or at least recording it for like 4 years now, so he's pretty good at building. And I'd assume that if he's good at building, and when he says terraforming go 2 blocks for dirt, I see it's a good idea to do. But as I've rambled on for just about long enough, yeah, I'm sorry for kind of rambling this episode, but it's definitely one of those episodes that's more or less it's better for me because I get to then rewatch the video if I forget what my plan was, which is likely to happen. But yeah, thank you all for watching. My name is Captain Tendraxis, signing off.